All right, so let's move on. To Donald Trump? Trump. Okay, so we had to put this in. This was really making the rounds on cable. Every liberal I know has seen this clip now, and I'm not really sure why. It really invites. I guess there's just a lot to say about it. So let's get into it. Basically, Trump had a rally, which was supposed to be a Q&A. And they think it took like 5 questions. And then 2 people, it appears, collapsed and had health events. This is a side note. This always happens at political rallies. Have people not heard of water bottles? Can we all just be taking water bottles? You know, every inauguration I've ever attended, every political event, people are always collapsing.
It's a young people thing. Old people don't bring water bottles.
Yeah, what
is
happening? Like, just bring a fucking water bottle and stop taxing ER resources. Secondary.
Are they making you? The Secret Service making you dump the water out like you're going into the airport?
I didn't think about that, but I don't think so. More recently. Actually, they make people throw away their jewels and their vapes, which is kind of funny too. But these are all side conversations. Trump is at this rally. 2 people collapse. In the midst of that collapse, they stop taking questions and they play a little bit of music. But what ends up happening is like a 30-minute vibe fest where Trump just plays music and kind of vibes on the stage. He doesn't say a word, and then it just ends. It just totally ends. So we have the introduction to that, and then we could just show you guys what it looked like when he was just vibing on the stage. Let's take a listen.
Well, sir, do you want to play your song and then greet a few people, or do you want to? Well, you had said you wanted to close with a specific song.
Okay, so yeah, people who are watching, he's just vibing. Yeah, they're singing like Ave Maria, and the crowd is like, what's going on here exactly? Like, what do we do? Some people, you can see how confused some people are there. The guy's looking straight into the camera. Others have he's got his arms up like this. They're just waiting for Trump. Some people are leaving. I don't know. My joke is that Trump ascended to his final form. And his final form is he no longer has to speak. He's kind of like, so Catholics might get mad at me for this, but if I recall, there was a time when the Pope didn't speak in public. This is all from my knowledge of that HBO show with Jude Law. So just to show everybody. But as I understand it, the Pope did not speak whenever he was in public. The mere gaze upon him was enough to see his holiness, and actually to hear him speak was like blasphemous. And so that's what I think is happening, is that the people who are attending to gaze upon his mere visage is enough to be in the presence of the emperor, like in the Chinese system of the imperial time. So that was how I took it, is that, he joked. He's like, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. But now it's like he doesn't even need to speak to entertain the masses. That's how I took it.
It would have been better if they were playing like Grateful Dead.
Of course it would for you.
It looked like, he'd popped a gummy and was just vibing on stage there. That was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, this was, like I said, this really made the rounds. People were like, has Trump lost it? Like, what is he doing? Honestly, I have no earthly explanation. That is the best I can take a stab at it is that he was like, hey, I don't really feel like talking, and most of these people love me enough that they'll just hang out and they'll stay. And you know what? He was kind of right. Some of them left, but a lot of them stayed. So there you go.
And speaking of scripted, we dinged Kamala for being a little scripted. Trump pretty scripted in his dance moves. Everybody knows Trump's dance moves.
Yeah, he does this.
Yeah, he's got that, and then he's got the punch too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I sympathize. I'm a terrible
moves.
dancer, so I get it. All right. So he also did an interview with Bloomberg. I believe this was the Economic Club of Chicago, and there was a real clash here on tariffs in particular. Probably the most viral moment from the interview. Let's take a listen.
You're also talking about 20% tariffs on the rest of the world. That is going to have a serious effect on the overall economy. And yes, you're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive.
I agree. It's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well,
let me just I know how committed you are to this, and it must be hard for you to spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative, and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative. It will have. I'll go a step further.
40 million, 40 million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on.
They're all coming back.
Those are 40 million jobs. Those are 40 million jobs in America that rely on trade.
Are you ready? John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened
They're
them with
also going
tariffs
to build.
and they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the judge.
I personally really enjoyed that. Anytime you see like a rich British guy who runs Bloomberg, this guy, Wharton, probably school or London School of Economics, who's like just talking about how great, you know, neoliberal economic theory is. And he's just like, it must be hard for you to be wrong and to have somebody explain it to you. Like, yeah, you're completely wrong. I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed how he went after the Fed. I'm not sure if you saw
No,
it.
I missed that part.
Yeah, he was like, he said something along the lines of, he's like, it's the greatest job in the world. You go into a room, you flip a coin, and everybody treats you like you're a genius. And I was like, he's totally right. He's absolutely correct. And there's so much like dressing around this, around tariffs and about, oh, economists say X, Y. Yeah, when is the last time economists were correct about literally anything or the forecast? And if you study economics in school, they'll be the first to tell you, be like, hey, look at all these models and look how they actually work out in practice. It doesn't take a genius to see it. So this actually, look, you know, just a little history thing. This takes you really back to some like OG fights in American history around like this about silver
The
and
original
gold,
fights,
William
yeah.
Jennings Bryan. Like,
Yeah.
you know, people at one time had massive feelings about, you know, hard money and gold, the gold standard and silver, and you have the famous Bryan speech about mankind will not be crucified on a cross of gold and what that meant for monetary policy and farmers. And so there's some of that coming back. But even on tariffs, I mean, it's interesting because for him, he's not even making the Kamala argument about, well, we're going to have some targeted tariffs. He's like, no, tariffs in general are all bad. And that is where, you know, Trump politically intuited in 2016 that that was a position both that he thought was overwhelmingly popular, but that you could implement without subscribing to neoliberal economic theory and taking a very different, almost honestly like a mercantilist view of economics,
Yeah.
which I really appreciate because that's my thing. But anyway.
Yeah, and the fights now over the Fed are really the exact same ones that people were having over silver
100%.
in the 19th century. Saagar knows this, most of the audience probably doesn't, but what he meant by crucify on a cross of gold was that the gold standard was keeping the money supply too low, and the silver bugs wanted to add silver to the currency, and they said that will put more currency in the economy and it will allow for economic growth. They didn't win, but then the history is so funny. Huge discoveries of silver in the West flooded a whole bunch of silver into the economy, and economists will say, like, actually that discovery of silver like increased the monetary supply. It was like increased the M1, and it did the right thing. So it was like the nature flipped the coin, not nature, but genocide. Like,
yeah, there is a poster somewhere in the studio. I'd have to go find it, of William Jennings Bryan from his Cross of Gold speech, like a cartoon from the 1890s that I picked up in an antique store, because it is such an important point. And actually, I mean, if you want to talk too about like third party and stuff, like he's one of the most successful outsiders to ever get in. He became the Secretary of State under Woodrow Wilson. He was a titanic figure in American politics.
Was a Democratic nominee for like 4 times.
Exactly.
The Populist Party basically folded in a deal with the Democrats that if you accept our agenda, we'll go away and endorse Democrats.
Yeah, he was an interesting dude, very much. So people should go and read some books about him. We also should get to the next part here with Trump, where this is where, look, Trump, he gives and he takes. And so he'll give you a good answer on tariffs. He'll give you kind of a crazy answer about Google. Let's take a listen.
Justice Department is thinking about breaking up Alphabet, as Google likes to be known now. Should Google be broken up?
I just haven't gotten over something the Justice Department did yesterday, where Virginia cleaned up its voter rolls and got rid of thousands and thousands of bad votes, and the Justice Department sued them that they should be allowed to put those bad votes and illegal votes back in and let the people vote. So I haven't gotten over that. A lot of people have seen that. They can't even believe it.
The question is about Google, President Trump.
Yeah, look, Google's got a lot of power. They're very bad to me, very, very bad to me. I mean, I can speak from that standpoint.
All right, so
I can speak from that standpoint. It's so perfect. It's like, that is his frame of how he feels about anything. Well,
I can speak from that standpoint.
How have they treated me? Okay, Google.
Yeah.
don't like them.
Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Sometimes he gets those answers and you're like, what are you even talking about, dude? He calls it the weave. We'll see. We'll see if people are going to take that.
By the way, I'm curious where you are on his tariff answer. Obviously, at least obvious from my perspective, flat tariffs, even on things that we cannot make here, are silly.
Well,
right?
Crystal and I have had this fight before. I mean, it depends. And so,
Are you saying we should substitute out, let's say mangoes, for instance?
Again, it's the same type of thing. Well, first of all, Mexican mangoes are terrible, and people should try Indian mangoes. So that's just for, at a very basic level. Most Americans have never had the taste of a real mango. But second to that,
Florida mangoes are really good.
Have there? Yeah. Are they? Okay. Well, it's probably still the Mexican variety. There's a whole fight about this. Yeah. And anyways, this is all, again, secondary. The point, first of all, is that you can't even institute a blanket tariff. Congress would have to do it, and it's not going to happen. You would literally need some sort of smoot-holly. So to me, this is very much like Trump. Seriously, literally, we had a whole debate about it yesterday. You can go and watch that if you want to. IRL, what does it look like? Well, it looks a lot like it did last time, which is the Commerce Department and section, I forget exactly, the exact provision of law allows for national security declarations on certain goods, specifically farming and steel implements. But remember this, the tariffs that under the Biden administration are specifically done under the same executive authority that Trump used last time. Trump basically pushed as much as he could last time in terms of goods. A lot of it was metals, a lot of it was steel, both with Brazil, Korea, Japan, China. I expect a ramp up of that from last time around. The truth is that Congress, even Republicans, is full of neoliberals and the corporate lobby. I mean, I can't tell you guys from behind the scenes, the amount of corporate exceptions that these people try and lobby for is insane. They're like, oh, please, it's just so impossible for me to buy this part from anywhere else. And it's like, really? Well, it's like, well, but it would cost 20 cents more or something. Like, yeah, but that one's in Pittsburgh and you want to buy it from Shanghai. So, you don't see a little bit of a problem here. I don't think it's a reality that you could actually impose some sort of blanket tariff. But at the same time, listen, drastic times, sometimes, that's what you need to see. I am in general, I called Trump a mercantilist. People should go and look at that definition. Here's another one you want to Google. Autarky, the idea of economic self-sufficiency. Fundamentally, that's what he is talking about and he's trying to get to. I don't even believe a blanket tariff would go into place. And even if it did, again, if you look at a lot of the imports and consumption of the overall U.S. economy, quite a bit of the stuff that we import, not only could it be made here with some limited exceptions, but a lot of it is just cheap crap that people don't even necessarily need. Now, it's easy for me to say from here, people, I'll be fully admit it will raise the price. Absolutely. It's true. Trump's response is we would also be taking in a significant amount. He had an idea last time around, with soybean farmers, and basically because we took in hundreds of billions from soybeans was to cut checks to a lot of the people who worked in the industry. I think that's perfectly fine in terms of the distribution, in order to offset some of this. So it's a worthy conversation. I would much rather have this debate than the other one, which is should we have tariffs or not? Yeah. I'll put it that way, right?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Let's move on. What's our next clip here? We have, that's right, Trump, also at the same time, there's just been some strange behavior that's happening. So, of course, he canceled on 60 Minutes. I mean, that one makes sense. 60 Minutes and him got into a whole tiff last time. But he also canceled on Joe over at CNBC, which is surprising because that guy is actually very pro-Trump. And he got really salty about it. So here's what he had to say.
Trump canceled, and he was going to come on. And I said, when you come on, we'll be able to say you came, and I didn't talk to him personally, but I said.
So, yeah, I mean, he canceled on CNBC. I was frankly kind of surprised by that. I don't know about you, Ryan, that he didn't go on CNBC because it's exactly like the Bloomberg interview that he was doing previously at the Economic Club, where he likes to go on and spar with the Wall Street guys and all that. That one's a much more targeted thing. So for his cancellation, people were saying he was scared of it. I'm not necessarily sure. There might be some personal beef or something behind the scenes, but at the least, I was like, that's kind of interesting. Why did he cancel it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you can do the Bloomberg thing and argue about tariffs there, you can do the exact same thing there. And he could even go on there and troll about Lena Khan, poke CNBC, which hates Lena Khan almost as much as the Wall Street Journal, and also then poke the Harris campaign for being unwilling to stand up for her. When Kamala Harris was asked, is there anything you would do differently than the Biden administration, she said, I can't think of a single thing. The only thing that she hasn't really committed to is that one thing, is keeping Lena Khan and Jonathan Cantor.
That is a good point. Although I'm not sure what Trump would say about Lena Khan. If we're all being honest. Final thing is Trump will have a major campaign event.
That's why
that
I say
will happen
troll.
on Sunday. Yeah, fair enough. Let's put this up there. This will be fun to watch. Donald Trump will be visiting a McDonald's on Sunday in Pennsylvania, and he will, quote, work the fry cooker. This is a source familiar with the matter. This comes up as Trump has repeatedly claimed Kamala Harris never actually worked at McDonald's. So one of my friends, Joe Simonson, is actually the person who he put the story out where he was like, I don't think Kamala Harris, he's like, there's no evidence Kamala's ever worked at McDonald's. Kamala has been asked about this. There was an interview that she gave. I forget, I think it was NBC News with Stephanie Ruhle. And she was like, I did the fries or something very vague. Mm-hmm. She has not released any photos of her working at McDonald's. I mean, presumably those would exist. So this is Trump trying to not only stoke that, but I mean, look, I hate to say it, I actually think this is the type of thing that so many people will love to watch, like this video or whatever of Trump working on the fry cooker. Now, as I understand, it's actually quite a dangerous job. I will not pretend I've never worked at McDonald's. I mean, it seems scary, right? We're talking about hot oil. There's a lot of orders that you got to get through. It's not an easy gig, you know, from what I can tell. Now you've got automation and all this crazy stuff with those order things, and everything seems very regulated in terms of how you're measured, how much you can do back there. So it's not the worst thing. He could also talk about removing, taxes on tips. Not that anybody tips at McDonald's, although they should. So anyway, what do you think? What do you think?
You get water in that in that grease, you're setting the whole thing on fire.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, you're right. Yeah.
And it's slippery. Like,
yeah. Don't they get burnt? They get like burns on their hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It looks scary, man. When you see them dunk them, you're like, this is a lot going on here.
That's the last place you want to be.
Actually, it's funny. A friend of mine, I actually don't even know his name. He's an anonymous guy on Twitter. He's a polling analyst. His name is Ruben Rodriguez. I've talked about him here on the show. He's been suggesting previously, he's like, Trump should go work the fry cooker at McDonald's. And so maybe somebody at the campaign is reading his tweets. He's only got 12,000 followers, but he's a very smart guy. He called every state in the election last time around. That's why I follow him.
Now, assuming Kamala did work at McDonald's, because that would be just an amazing thing to make up.
That would the reason I'm like, maybe she did is that's a crazy thing to make up. Yeah. That's absolutely insane. But you know, I wouldn't put it past anybody.
The evidence against her that Trump floats around is that there was some resume that where she didn't include it. But that also is a window into kind of Trump's view of the world. That, dude, you don't put McDonald's on your resume. Like,
that's true.
McDonald's is the kind of job that is only cool once you've gotten beyond it. Like it, and that's what so much of poverty and working class life is like, actually.
Right.
That people love to look back on it as something that you did, but when you're in it, our country imbues it all with shame.
So
and people should not forget that.
You're not wrong, and it's very true. There's absolutely nothing wrong with working at McDonald's, whether you're working there for 10 years or whether you're working there for a summer. So here's what Joe wrote in his article. He said, Harris works at McDonald's, which allegedly took place at a franchise in the California Bay Area. It is a recent addition to her crafted life story. For decades, she has never mentioned it, not on the campaign trail, not in 2 books. It is absent from a job application, from the resume that she submitted a year before college. Third-party biographers have not written about it. It is not until Harris ran for president in 2019 and spoke to a labor rally in Las Vegas did she mention the job, telling the crowd that she, quote, was a student when I was working at McDonald's. And so it's one of those where the actual evidence for this claim has not there. There is no photo, as I said, that exists of her working at McDonald's. I guess at the same time, not a lot of people necessarily want people to take a photo of her when she's at McDonald's. But Joe has done the legwork, and I gotta say, there's a decent shot she hasn't worked at McDonald's, just based on that. Because why wouldn't you have talked about it in 2 books? And the first time you're going to mention it is 2019. It's conceivable, don't get me wrong. But you've been a politician for this long, and you've never talked about it? I don't know.
Right.
I'm a little bit skeptical.
At some point, you would think that would, at some point, you're far enough removed away from it that you're proud of it.
Okay.
It's before 2019.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah. No,
I agree.
So I'm agreeing with you. I'm like,
she's a lawyer, right? At that point, she's a multi-millionaire. She got married to Doug.
At that point, it's fine to say you worked at McDonald's.
I don't know.
Good.
I'm curious. I'm very, very curious.
I want the long form photo. Yeah.
I want the original. We're gonna have to go into the photo archives and all of this. We can look into it. So it's amazing.
Should we assign a reporter to track this down?
Joe even obtained a 1987 job application that she had for a law clerk in Alameda County whenever she was like that summer afterwards. And it's like she does not. She listed several jobs, including a month-long clerical job at stock brokerage, but did not mention McDonald's.
But see, that's the one. That's the one where I'm saying, I understand why.
I agree with you. That's the thing. It's not necessarily
and why you would put the clerical one.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
You're trying to show that you're like belong with these rich white shoe people.
That's right. Who would look down on somebody who worked at McDonald's? Which again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. I met some funny people who work at McDonald's.
One other point on this question about whether there's a photo of her. I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
So my first job was at Washington College over on the eastern shore of Maryland, where I worked in the kitchen and the dining hall. Absolutely zero chance there's a photo of me doing any of that work. And none of my friends, and a lot of my friends worked this same job.
Yeah.
None of my friends ever would have thought to take a picture. And my upbringing, I think, and I'm curious for your take on this, my upbringing was closer to hers in the sense that there were no cell phones, period, let alone cell phone cameras. We didn't walk around with cameras. Once in a while, somebody would bring like a Polaroid to a party just as a party trick.
It's fun.
You absolutely would not bring a camera to work.
Okay.
Like, why on earth would you do that?
Yeah, we were talking about our first job. So my first job was a liquor store as a cashier. I do think there is a photo of me doing it.
But this was the 2000s?
Yeah, no, this was like 2012, probably.
Oh, so there's
iPhones
around
the
that.
iPhones out. I think we all had iPhone 4s, so there you go. It's not the same. That was an interesting job, though. You learn a lot about people selling liquor.
I'm sure you do. And this was DC?
Yeah, this was here in Washington, D.C. You get rich people. I was just telling you about homeless people.
The great equalizer, the liquor store.
It's true. Yeah, you see everybody from all walks of life. You learn a lot about people. People tell you their stories about what they want, why they're buying certain things. People make up a lot of stories, too, where it's like, it's fine, man. I'm just telling you. It's like, I don't care.
And I think Kamala could actually settle this, not with a photo of her, but just talking about it for 5 minutes.
That's right. I agree with you. So
if you worked one of these jobs, it is indelible.
That's right. She said, I did the fries. So she needs to give us some more detail. Yeah, we need more detail. Yeah. For example, like you just said, in terms of selling, like we can get into it, in terms of like bourbon
when Kamala does her interview here, we'll make sure that's
I'll go into it. I'll be like, you need to prove. We'll bring in a real McDonald's worker. I'll be like, you ask her something of that only somebody who, quote, did the fries at McDonald's would know.
But not even that. Like, I think just the experience of working in McDonald's, like hearing her talk about it, you'd be able to tell if that was a real experience or if she was just relaying something
like
she heard
shift
from friends
work
or something.
It was like, I got put on a crappy schedule or
like
closing.
I'll tell you everything you need to know about the dish room at Washington College.
Yes, there you go. All right, I like it.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.